Hi, welcome to You Didn't Get the Memo. I'm your host, Gloria Bailey Ray, and guys, we got a great show for you today, as always. But today is particularly special and near and dear to my heart because this month is Autism Awareness Month, and I have this wonderful, wonderful, God fearing mother, wife, daughter who is an author and has written a book. And we're going to be talking with her. So I don't know about you, but I got my Kleenex ready because she's going to be talking about her book, but we're going to get into it and get information because there are so many people out there whose children or who have children that have been diagnosed with autism. According to the National Health Survey for 2014 to 2016, they studied 30,502 children in the US and adolescents, and they actually found that the prevalence of autistic disease, we're talking, it was 2.47% or 2.7 per 1,000, 3.63% in boys, and 1.25% in girls. But across the 3 year reporting period, the prevalence was still very high, 2.24 in 2014, 2.41% in 2015, 2.76% in 2016. So as you can see, as we get better information and more diagnostic tools, children are able to be diagnosed. So I want to just remind all of you who are new to You Didn't Get the Memo is that we strive to provide you, the viewer, with relevant, factual, mainstream information, help you be informed and to make informed decisions. But also for those of you, I love this venue because you're actually able to make comments or ask questions of the guests. Just put it in the comment section and we'll do our very, very best to get to you. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest today, Miss Twana Wilson, who is the author of The Chronicles of Blue. Me, You, and 22Q. Welcome to the show, Miss Tawana. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, well, let's jump right in. And first of all, let's talk about your backstory. Tell us a little bit about you. And then we're going to delve into talking about when did you notice something about your son that made you decide that something was different. So your backstory, where are you from? What do you do? And I mean, the fact that you wrote a book. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me today. It's such an honor, and I'm thankful that God just put this all in the midst. My backstory, wow. Um, I am uh, ultimately I'm a quiet girl from Jasper, Texas. It's a small town. Um, Grew up there. Currently, I reside in Beaumont, Texas, and um, ended up having writing come up into my mind that I wanted to write my own story. And so life happened. Um, Family, work. I'm a health educator. I'm a master certified health education specialist. What that means is I really get into health. I like to assess populations. I like to plan programs. I like to advocate. I like to empower people. Um, and ultimately, with autism and with my own son, I get to put all of those qualities and components into play to help my family, help my son, and help
Mhm.
other families.
Right, right. And that is a key that you have that so many other people, I just see people being able to look to you for information because, as you know, a lot of times people who don't recognize and understand autism, and I know even for myself, until it affected my family, I would see kids and not knowing what was wrong. And it wasn't so much the word wrong, but what was different about them. And you could think, why can't they control that child? Why is that kid running around and doing all these things? And of course, I come later to know, some of the things that autistic children deal with. And why I was just so interested, I felt like it was so appropriate to have someone who had written a book and talk about autism. And I see you as one that becomes an expert. And so for you, I really, as I said at the outset, I just want you to be your authentic self. This is why the show is all about providing viewers with that information to help them be informed and to make informed decisions. And so I'm happy to have you on here and talk about that. So let me ask you this. When did you notice that there was something different about your son?
I would say that ultimately when he was first born,
Hmm.
um, he was first of all, let me just back up a little bit. When I was pregnant with him, and perfect pregnancy, nothing going on, no issues. Um, had him by cesarean, and when he came out, it was everything seemed to be fine. Um, and then after a few minutes, he started turning blue and started having some difficulties. Ultimately, finally, when I finally came to out of recovery, they told me that, hey, we're getting ready to send him off to Texas Children. And so I'm like, what's going on? What happened? And so they flew him off. I'm stuck in the hospital. And so once I was able to get out, we got to Texas Children. I should have stayed for a couple of days, but having that mother instinct kicked in, and I'm like, my baby is separate from me. I just had him. By the next day, I was headed out to the hospital myself. When me and my husband got there, um, they told us, hey, he's having some challenges. He's hooked up to all these wires. Um, I mean, I, I wasn't any more good once I saw that.
Right.
Um, we we prayed, and we prayed some more. Um, and then finally, they said, "Hey, he's going to need a surgery, but we can't do it right now because it's he's too critical." So after, I think it was about 2 weeks, we had to wait till he was stabilized, and they did his first heart surgery, and they had to correct a lot of things. So um, he had a interrupted arch. Um, and that's where both sides, that big arch in the heart, both sides formed, but they didn't connect in the middle.
Mhm.
Um, and that was a miracle. They told us with that happening, um, it's a miracle that he's here. And they went in there, they fixed lots of different things going on with his heart. And just kind of fast forward in just a little bit, um, they went through lots of different tests. And
Mhm.
then finally, they came back and said that he had, and they didn't call it 22q, then they called it DiGeorge syndrome.
Mhm.
So you hit me with, what is that? And ultimately when you hear the word syndrome, like you really get nervous, what is going on. And there was a there was a lot. Like, we lived at the hospital for months,
Mhm.
for 4 months, and I was right there alongside him. And so when you say, what did I know? Ultimately, when he was first born, they told us there were going to be some challenges, some developmental issues that we were going to have to face. And so um, ultimately, right away, we knew there were going to be some things. Autism wasn't even a question right there. It started with 22.
Okay, so with 22Q. Now, I do need to ask you, you have several other children, is that correct?
Yes, I have an older daughter and I also have an older son.
Right. And then, so this son, the youngest one, had these problems and complications, and I can only imagine what that's like. You've gone through, you've had a healthy pregnancy, you've done everything right, and then you find, wow, this is what's happened. And so that in itself would I think would just be overwhelming, and which is why I said here's someone whose prayers are strong and who has strong belief. And for me, that's what touched me about hearing your story. And I know that it's a lot, but I want to assure you that what God has for you, He would not bring you to it unless He's going to bring you through it. And He's already started to bring you through it. You see it. Your son is now 18, I think.
17.
17, 17 years old. And that in itself, we're going to get into some of the challenges as children age out of certain systems. But the thing is, you have continued to hold on, and I want to encourage you to continue to hold on. A lot of times we don't understand it, but I tell you what, it really is true. It will come through, and God will make it plain in the end. So when you found out about this and they told you about the D. George syndrome, because like you said, 22Q, and that's part of the book, and I can't wait to hear you talk about that. But what happened or what type of testing was done to determine a diagnosis of autism?
Well, they weren't able to make a diagnosis until he was 3 years old.
Okay.
So they said that he was experiencing some things that they were looking out for. So we had what's called ECI at the time. It was early child intervention, and so we had um, different clinicians that would come into the home, and they would help us and make sure that he was reaching milestones. A lot of them that he wasn't reaching a lot of them. And so he wasn't walking, he wasn't rolling over, he wasn't talking, um, he didn't make eye contact, among other things. And so, with all of those observations and different evaluations that were going on within the home, they had an idea that he had autism, but of course they couldn't officially make that diagnosis until age 3 back then. Um, he had a neurologist, so that ultimately was helping to make that decision, and also a psychologist and a psychiatrist as well.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So you actually had a team of healthcare professionals, which for a lot of people who are watching this show and you have not gotten that, uh, let me just tell you, you have to advocate for your child. And that's why I wanted to have Miss Tawana on the show because there are so many things. People suffer in silence. They listen. I'm just telling you, it is vitally important. Get your child the help that they need. We have to sometimes just stand up and beat a drum, but beat the drum and get your child that help or your children. So you talk about, they told you about the D. George syndrome, but you talk about 22Q, and we're going to come back to that. But did they just kind of give your son kind of a generic diagnosis, just saying it's autism, or there's a spectrum that children who have autism a lot of times could be on? What did the medical professionals say to you?
Well, at that time, they just said autism.
Hmm.
You know, they didn't really give me a definite where he fell on the spectrum. They just said autism.
Okay.
And so ultimately, like going through the years, then talking with his healthcare provider, said that he was um, maybe like Aspie, a little bit like Asperger.
Hmm.
So and it's hard to kind of pinpoint autism on even whether it's a high functioning or low functioning, because you can be considered maybe at that end and then swing like a pendulum and be to the opposite end and have different strengths in different areas. So I hate I even hate to kind of hear high functioning or low functioning, because um they just that individual, that baby, they just might be able to communicate in a totally different way,
Right.
that's not typical, that's being seen in everyday life.
Yeah. And then speaking with you prior to coming on to the show, one of the things that you said you don't like to use the word, people are so quick to slap on the word disability, right? They have a disability. So tell us a little bit about how you don't refer to it as a disability, all in one word. What do you say?
I try to put a lot of focus on the ability um, of the individual. So even if I'm referring to it, like if I'm writing it, I'm gonna put the DIS. I'm gonna lowercase that because I want to put all the emphasis on the ability that person can do. Even with coming with becoming an author of the book, I also was able to become an entrepreneur and start my family company, our legacy, which is Abilities Above Bounds Beyond LLC. And so that is where we really push forward with the person's ability. We want to help individuals with all abilities. And everyone is unique. And so I try not to even focus the dis and focus on the ability. How can we build that? How can we build that person? How can we build that child?
Right.
How can we build that family or those parents?
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, because we're already getting questions about 22Q, so we'll just flip the script a little bit. But guys, don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for your comments. We will be right back.
Myth. If you get COVID 19, you'll recover after a few days. That myth is false. We're only just beginning to understand the effects of COVID 19 on the human body, as we're starting to see more and more people identifying as long haulers who are having symptoms for weeks, if not months, after their initial infection. Continue to wear a mask, socially distance, and wash your hands. Together, we can keep COVID out of school.
For ways to keep your community safe, go to backtoschooltogether.com.
It's all of our responsibility to slow the spread of the coronavirus. So follow guidance from authorities where you live and stay home unless absolutely necessary. You can still use your outdoor spaces like yards and decks. It's also okay to go for a walk or exercise outside. Wear a cloth face covering, stay at least 6 feet away from other people, try not to touch any surfaces, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Hey fam, if you're just tuning in to the show, you didn't get the memo. My guest is this awesome, awesome woman, Miss Twana Wilson, who is an author. She became an entrepreneur and she wrote a book called The Chronicles of Blue. You, Me, and 22Q. And before we went to break, we had some comments from our viewers. And one comment was, how rare is 22Q? So before we talk about how rare is it, what is 22Q? If you'll talk to us about that.
Well, 22q, it is um, a deletion of the 22nd chromosome. It affects um, various parts of the body. It can affect the heart. Ultimately, you heard me talk a lot about the heart defects and things that had to be fixed with my son. It affects your immune system. Uh, it's hard to fight off the normal cold, flu with 22q. It also affects the endocrine system. So a child may end up having um, um, a missing kidney, or even kidney issues, or calcium issues. It affects. It's so unique. Ultimately, it puts me in the mind of autism as well, because a person can have several items that have been identified, and they can have a few items in 22q that have been identified. So it can affect speech, communication. It can affect um, social skills, like ADHD, autism. So it's so many things that come with 22q that a lot of people, a lot of people haven't heard of it, but it's ranked number 2, right behind Down syndrome. So that's why it's just so important to raise awareness for 22q as well as for autism during this month.
Right, right, absolutely. A couple of other comments also is one of the viewers is saying, "Thank you for sharing your story." And someone else says, yes, you do have to be the biggest advocate for your child, and that is so key. Uh, Another viewer did say that Asperger's syndrome is on the spectrum. However, you can get more services with the diagnosis of autism. And I would assume these are people who actually have children that have been diagnosed with autism. So that's why it is so important. But look, I'm going to get into something that I know you and I talked about, and it just gripped at my heart. And I just need to ask you, what was your initial reaction to receiving that diagnosis that your child had autism? Not only yours, but what about your spouse and your family? Because family, they play such a big part in these children's lives if you let them. And so let's start with what your reaction was, and then the reaction from your husband, and then we'll talk about your family members.
So ultimately, for myself, I would say guilt came into play. Like, is it something that I did? That comes in a lot for parents, and for me, that I was wondering, is it something I eat? Did I not take enough vitamins? What what brought this on? Why me? You know, and that came on me for a long time. Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to our family? Why this happened to the baby? Um, just and it takes a toll on you. For my husband, I would say a lot of the same things, a lot of the same feelings that I was feeling. The why, why did this happen? Um, and then for our kids, that took some time from them. So, because we had to focus a lot on Cayman, because of his health issues. So I know they took a second seat, that they were used to having, our undivided attention all the time. And I know that that put a lot of strain on them as well. And we tried to evenly spread, but a lot of times, because he had the more critical needs at that time, we did give a lot of that to him. Now, as far as family, um, they knew, our family knew what was going on, but nobody really knows, the feelings that you feel unless you're going through the situation. Um, my family is pretty small. My husband's family is pretty small, and I'm talking just like immediate. Um, a lot of times we needed the extra support. We needed extra support. And when people don't know how challenging it puts on you, it's hard. You love your child, you love your baby, but you still trying to live. You're still trying to take care of bills. You're still trying to keep your job. A lot of the things that we took on financially. I mean, when you're trying to get all this whole team, keep a team together around your child, and you're trying to pay for co-pays or, surgery, and you have bills that are coming in and from the hospital, it might be this amount and you don't have it. And then you have to take off from work. People say, why you leave your job? And I have to say, I have to be honest, that's a lot of jobs I left because when that pressure hits and you know that your child needs to get to the doctor, one parent has to work, make it, and the other one have to take the hit, and that way we can all work together and get the needs met. And that's a challenge. And so a lot of times you'll hear me talk about a care team. A care team. You need a person with a special needs child, with a child with autism, with a child with 22Q. You need a strong care team. Ultimately, a whole family, when you bring kids in the world, you need a care team, period. But especially when you have a special needs child with autism, child with 22Q. You need a team. You need a team. And it takes a toll. So when you said how did it hurt? That blame, that guilt, that depression, that hurt, all of that came into play. It's difficult. It's difficult. And a lot of times you'll see families with special needs, they may not stay together. Some of them don't make it. It's hard. It's hard. It was hard for our family. And for a while, we were broken. This book is so this book helped me put my family back together.
Amen. Amen.
God gave us that vision to do it. I don't know how that came about. Like I said, I was trying to write my own story, and that it was too hurtful because our whole family needed to heal with this whole thing. We needed to learn how to attack autism, 22Q, family, health needs, self-care, all that.
Yeah.
We had to figure out how to do it. And a lot of families, they need help with that,
Yeah.
And I'm just thankful that we were able to do that, and we can share with other people that we understand that it's hard. It's hard
Hearing your
for
story,
everybody.
I can feel the emotion, and it's okay. I just want you to breathe because you hit on a number of points. And to hear you, first of all, I honor you, and I honor the fact that you would say, first of all, it's hard. It ain't easy. And the fact that the guilt, see, that was one of the things that just endeared me to you because I could just feel, and everybody wants to have a perfect child, right? And especially the fact that you're feeling like you did something wrong, your husband feeling like did something wrong, and you said the word, people become broken. They become broken. But what I love about you is that you know what, you still kept your faith in God. And you just said, I don't know. See, that's the beauty of it. We all think that we're supposed to go a certain way. That's why I do this show. It's not because there are going to be a bazillion people on here, but somebody somewhere listening to this show is actually going to be moved and touched by this. And they're going to know and they can understand because I can feel your pain. I can feel what you're talking about, the heaviness and the fact that so many families are broken. And mothers are usually such caregivers. They're the women take it on. And for your husband to still be there. And you said this book put your family back together. I just say, God bless you. Amen. And for you stepping out. And that's why it's so important to be authentic. Be your authentic self. I didn't want you on here because you're going to, be flash and dash. I wanted someone who's really going to tell the true story. And you're telling your truth and you're standing in it and living in it. The thing is also, let's touch on family. One of the things that happens a lot of times, family don't understand. And you talked about just the financial piece. Nobody stops to think to say, hey, here's $50, here's $100, here's, and I myself am, I can say that even listening, and since I met you and talked to you, that's something that I know that with my family member who has autistic children, that's something I never thought about, giving money or just like you said, self-care. And although I know that my sister advocates a lot about autistic parents of autistic children need self-care, and to hear you say that, and so anybody that's watching this, you know need to understand the stress that you guys are under, what you go to, what you have to deal with. Because we all talk about it takes a village when we're just dealing with healthy children. But it takes more than a village and a care team to help with a child or family member who has autism. So I applaud you. I applaud you. I think that, just hearing your story, the challenges that you guys have faced, and people not understanding from your employer to maybe a family member why you can't hold down a job, why you can't keep a job. Somebody has to keep the lights on, but somebody has to be there to deal with, you know, the child as well. So hearing that, and I want you to feel lifted up that your people around the world are going to hear your story, and there will be people who will be so moved by that. So, just know I'm just standing in the gap with you. So God bless you, for talking and just being brave enough to step out here and to say that. And I told you I got my clinic, so you got to cry, bring it on. But I understand. I truly, truly understand. So we're going to take a quick break so the both of us can gather our thoughts. And when we come back, let's talk about, not only the book, but what propelled you. You led into that a little bit, but now we're going to talk about the book itself. Okay. So guys, don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for hanging in here. I really appreciate it. Hang tight.
I work out every day. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 24. COVID won't kill me.
I have antibodies. COVID won't kill me.
It's been a long week. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 25. COVID won't kill me.
I'm partying outside. COVID won't kill me.
I don't need to wear a mask around my friends. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 23. COVID won't kill me.
If I haven't gotten it yet, COVID won't kill me.
I'm young. COVID won't kill me.
Famous last words. Don't let them be yours. Socially distance. Mask up, America.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand, trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
All right, if you guys are just tuning in, I'm talking with author Miss Twana Wilson, and we are talking about autism. And in fact, she actually wrote a book called The Chronicles of Blue, Me, You, and 22Q. Guys, it's a very touching interview, and it's a very authentic interview. And I am just honored that Miss Wilson would come on and share her story. So Before we went to break, Miss Tawana, I had asked you to talk about what propelled you to actually write this book, because it wasn't just something that you put on paper. You poured your heart and soul into this, and you said that this book actually saved your family. So talk about the book itself. Just kind of how it just started formulating, because you were trying to write a book about yourself. You're trying to write your story. And God stepped in and said, no, I got another book for you. So tell us a little bit about how that came to be.
Um, I was like I said, I started off trying to write my own, and it wasn't that time. It wasn't time for that, and then COVID hit, and then things changed really, really quick. Um, and I'm gonna say virtual learning. Um, that kind of pushed toward that really helped with pushing me toward having that need that the book needed to be wrote about Cayman. When we were faced with not knowing all these what ifs, and then with him having a low immune system and getting so far with academically and socially, and then being, at home, no friends, no neighborhood friends really in our area, but school, ultimately, that's his support environment for socializing. And he's used to seeing his classmates. Um, that change. And so, and I'm gonna say I'm thankful that COVID hit because it steeled me. It steeled us. It allowed me to see what gaps needed to be met with Cayman. Um, I could see, academically, because I was right on. I'm not saying that I wasn't involved, but when the parent is put into that role of being that immediate teacher, that everything, you're doing the math, science, social study, all that, you really can see, like, I thought my child was, I thought he was at this level, and he, he needs a lot more help. We need to do more. And then, he's used to getting, these needs met through school, like with, speech or OT or, those things like that. I was at home and I'm thinking, what in the world? What are we going to do? I don't want him to go lacking. And I just started thinking, he's getting older. What am I going to do? What is he going to do? How's he going to take care of himself? All these what ifs. What if I get sick? What if his daddy gets sick? How's he going to take care of himself? He doesn't even know what he has, because we never told him. We never told him, hey, you have 22q. You have autism. We didn't tell him because we want him to feel like he was just like everybody else, but he's not, and because he's different. He's unique, and he needed to know that, and we didn't tell him. And so I thought I need to show him, but I didn't want to just keep bombarding him. Hey, you have 22q, you have autism, all that. Because when you push a child, and you give them too much, they may not be ready to soak that in. Right. So I figured, let's make it fun. Let's make it where we can incorporate pictures, because a lot of times with kids with different needs, and especially with autism, they may not just read words, and you'll see pictures. They'll read with pictures, right, or in the graphics that helps them, see the big picture. Or if it's words that they see and they don't know, I'm not saying don't put big words. Put some big words in there, make them be challenged. And so I was able to, I would ask him, tell me about this. But then I fix the words for him, and then I let him read it and see, can he read it? Or can he not? Did he have trouble with this word? Okay, we need to switch that. And we use it as a teaching tool, but it's his book. I wrote it. Yeah, I wrote it. But it's his story. And I asked him, can I tell your story? Yeah, Mom. Yeah, okay, but That's his story. If something happened to me or his dad today, he has that book. That's something he has.
Right.
He can take that. He can take care of himself.
Mhm.
Because we haven't even got to the part about, will he be able to? Will he not? I feel like he will. I feel like he will. But because we're going to keep working hard at it. We're going to keep we pushing for independence. But this was our tool to help him. Not about to make money. Not about nothing like that. It was just, I didn't know what it was going to do. We were just doing something together, something together with mom and son. We're going to write about you. And it ended up writing about us. And when we wrote, the family, they wanted to know, you know. I'm gonna
So
stop.
you know what? So
I'm gonna
look,
be quiet.
no, I've in fact I have this little video to show. All right, and so I'm going to share this, and let's see if we can get it up. All right, so I'm gonna share, and let's see if we can get this up and going. Right. All right. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So that is the book, The Chronicles of Blue, VU and 22Q. And I just love this. And people, I want everyone on here to purchase a book because it's an easy read, but it tells a compelling story. And so that is awesome. Um, and I thank you, for that because you just said one of the questions I had for you was what did you hope to accomplish with writing this book? But you've already said it to put your family back together, number one. And then you were like, this isn't about money. It is truly about, you and your family. And some of the comments is so glad that they have the book to teach about 22Q and bring awareness to something that affects more individuals than I knew about. So just hearing that, family legacies through books, and that's why you wrote the book. That's the legacy.
Isn't that a nice video? Isn't that a nice video?
I love it.
Uh-huh.
Love it.
A sophisticated press put that together. Didn't they he put a fine video together for me?
Sophisticated press is the bomb, so they can do no wrong from where I stand. So that's the thing. But let's tell people where they can purchase the book, Miss Twana. I'm putting it up here. The Chronicles of Blue.com to purchase the book, right? And in addition to the book, I tell you, we've got kids masks, we've got adult masks. So I think this is awesome. So, fam, let's make sure that we support and we do what we're supposed to do, right? That's the main thing. So, Mr. Warner, I think that this is absolutely awesome. But let me transition and ask you this. you know, we talked about advocating, for your child, but I want to go back to the support because it's not just your issue, it's not just your husband's issue, but when you have family, even though you said it's a small family, it's everybody's issue. In the church family, I know that you're really big in your church. And that's one of the things I think a lot of churches are maybe missing the mark on is, you know, having a ministry that deals with and supports families who have autistic children. What would you say to that?
I would say it's definitely a huge need. And I have I have a few church families, and they've been supportive,
Mhm.
um, in each of their ways. So I that matter of fact, that was one place that came in was finally able to feel comfortable.
Mm.
Um, one of my churches, um, he was allowed to see the musician, um, who has um, who has autism, and then play the piano. And that was one thing that we finally found something to catch his attention. And so music, spirituality, um, they allowed him to be himself, because a lot of times, you know, a parent may not even want to go to church because child may have a meltdown, or, a lot of times they don't like to be in crowds or maybe too loud, and you know, they have challenges with that. And so just when you see a family, and, don't give them that look like you can't keep them under control, or don't give those kind of looks. But I would say my church families, they have embraced him. They have empowered him. He plays the piano. He prays. So he sings in a choir. He's done those things, and that place gave him the opportunity to be able to do that.
Mm.
Um, and then I just want families not to, especially families that have special needs. A lot of times they'll shell up, because we've done it. I'm guilty of it. I shell up in the house and not want to go, because what are we going to be faced with when we go in this setting? Are we going to have to leave it, or do we have to sit in the back just in case it's uncomfortable, but you have to work through it.
Yeah.
And that's why educating the community, educating about not just awareness, but acceptance. If you see a family and that's going on, don't give them that look. They're already beating their own self up anyway.
Mm.
So, embrace them, tell them it's okay.
Mm.
That was one thing that I had, at one of my church families. They said, let him kick the pew. It's okay. And he kicked and kicked and he kicked, and I'm like, oh, I said, I'm sorry, and I'm apologizing. I'm sorry. Let him kick the pew. Eventually, he stopped kicking the pew, because that's not giving that reaction, anymore. So he's worked through that, and I just want families to know, don't shell up. Don't shell up. Come out. There are so many support groups. Um, Facebook. I mean, they have several support groups for autism moms, autism parents. Even they have little teen groups that can meet up. Like, look for your resources. Look, it's a lot of times it's right in front of you.
Right.
But writing this book was so important because people need to know it's okay, and I understand, and I'm not judging. A lot of times a parent just want to know you're not judging them. Don't judge me. You don't know my situation. And I'll tell them in a minute, I'm not judging you. I understand. Believe me, I don't work through the meltdowns. I don't work through it. I don't work through the difficulties with family. I don't deal with the difficult with job. So this right here, this is giving Cayman a voice. He laughs. Like we would try to make a little video about the book, and I'm like, no, Cayman, cut. We need to do this again. And he just and he's laughing. And so we do it. And sometimes I would say he messed up on purpose, so we have to do it again, and I can hear him laugh. That's getting him out his comfort zone. And I'm the shy one. I don't like being out of my comfort zone, but since I know he's looking, and I know my kids are looking, and I know other people's families and their kids are looking, I gotta push out my comfort zone because it's something bigger. I don't know what it is. Like I said, this time last year, it's been a year. Things have changed completely in this 1 year. Like I say, I was stilled and I was able to get a little bit more clearer vision. I ain't all the way there yet. I'm still working, but this has helped my family. We work together, and not saying that we didn't always do it, but it was at different levels. Now we're working together as one, and that is refreshing, and you don't feel alone. And I tell my husband, isn't that good? We're not fighting against each other because I'm more the author. I'm the more the, let me say it right, the authoritarian, and he's the one laid back. So we got to find like this happy medium. But anyway, the kids are working together. They, Cayman is looking up to them, and he's speaking more. He's doing more, and the calls. Let me just shout out all the special need parents, the 22Q, and the autism parents. Not just the moms, but the dads too, because we got some good dads as well. Y'all are doing a great job. Somebody need to tell you that, because I know you sitting there thinking, well, my child don't do what he's doing, but Cayman didn't always do that. We have our challenges. We had them just this past week. We still have meltdowns. We still have those things we work through. But you are doing a wonderful job. If you're still in it, just stick with it. I know it gets hard. Stick with it. You can call me. You can reach out. I've had lots of parents reach out. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to figure it out. And more than likely, I'm trying to figure it out anyway, too, for Cayman. So we're a resource. I'm soaking up as much stuff as I can because I know the years are ticking away. He's 17. And transition, that's a lot of questions that parents are having. What do I do next?
Right.
What's next? How do I plan? I need to do this transitional planning into adulthood. What do we do? We're going to figure it out.
Right. And
we're going to figure it out.
That because as children age out through in different systems, the money gets funny. If you're getting money from the state, where does that go? How does that go? And yet, and I love the fact that you say just because your son is doing this, someone else is looking and say, well, my child isn't doing that. Well, you honestly, there's no comparison. There are no two people that are alike in the first place. And you could have a family where you got at least two kids that have autism, but they're on different ends of a spectrum. The thing is, you can't compare them. They're all very unique. They're very, very different. And thank you for pointing that out. And I think that also is critical. Like you said, one of the things people need to be able to reach out and to understand. The bottom line is, and I'm just going to say to the viewers, listen, when somebody say I'm tired, one of the things that we have a tendency to say and do, when people say, how you doing? They, even before you could say, oh, I'm good. Well, that's a lie. That's not the truth. You're not good. You say, I'm tired. I'm stressed. But other people will say, oh, how you doing? Oh, you looking good. Look like things are going good. So we have to just stop and put our ears on and really dial up that bell tone hearing aid and really listen to what people are saying. And you can see, it's got to wear you down. That's the thing that people don't understand. And if they don't have an autistic child, I'm telling you, you either have a friend, you have another family member, or it could be your own family, or you have a relative. Don't discount the fact that these people need your help. That's the thing. They need your help, but you got to be willing to let them help you too, right? You can't just lock it up and think that you got it all together and I'm handling all of this. And so it is different. But let me just ask you this as we draw near. Two questions. What do you want other families um, that to know about autistic children and how to deal with them? And what is it that you want to leave our viewers with? What do you want them to take away from listening to you today?
Be patient. I would say be patient. Be patient with your child. Be patient with yourself. And know that it's it's not a race. It's one day, 1 hour, one moment at a time. Like celebrate the little stuff, and it's a lot that you're working toward, but just each win, celebrate it, and be patient and be flexible. And this is our motto. We build learning and understanding every day. So just soak up what you can, reach out. So reach out, connect. That's going to be the biggest thing. It's refreshing when you connect with somebody that understand what you're going through. So be patient and stay prayerful about the whole situation. Don't stop praying. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Okay, okay, absolutely. Mr. Twana, it has just been my absolute pleasure. I thank you. I honor you. I applaud you. And again, although you didn't really say a whole lot, I still want to say, y'all, I want you guys to go out and to purchase this book. Go to https www.thechroniclesofblue.com. Purchase the book. You know, let's do something. Yeah, I just can't stress that enough. So, Miss Tawana, I want you to be encouraged. You know, the race isn't given to the swift. Is that right? But it's to those who endure to the end. And we have no idea what life holds for us. But I love the fact that you talk about being patient and the fact you embrace every day. Every day, quit looking at, you want the big stuff, but even the small stuff is a win. And I love that. And please tell the viewers one more time, what does BLUE stand for? BLUE?
Building, learning, and understanding every day.
All right.
Every day.
Every single day. So, Miss Tawana, you don't go anywhere. You stay right there. Guys, you don't go anywhere. Stay right there with us.
Thank you for watching the You Didn't Get the Memo show with your inspirational host, Gloria Bailey Ray. It's your contributions that make this happen. To become a sponsor, send an email to youdidn'tgetthememo@gmail. That's the letter U, didn't get the memo. If you're not in a space to be a sponsor, but you like what you hear, we simply ask that you support what you like by making a contribution to the show. There are 3 ways to make an online donation. Visit paypal.me/Gloria Bailey Ray or Cash App or Venmo, Gloria Bailey Ray. Give what you can. Your support is appreciated.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to yet again another informational, inspirational, and educational show. I want to thank all of my viewers who have made comments. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please help me in supporting Ms. Tawana and getting her book, The Chronicles of Blue, Me, You, and 22Q. It's a great great read. And also it comes in a coloring book as well. And as I said, there are other things. So I want to thank you guys for being here with us. I want to say to my guest, Ms. Twana, thank you so very much for being on the show. To all of the caregivers, be encouraged. Thank you guys so much for all that you do. Just know that this too shall pass. Encouraging all of you, whatever you do, to stay safe out there. And be sure and tune in next week, 5 p.m., when You Didn't Get the Memo, where my guest will be Miss Nikki Beasley. And we're going to talk about house is where the heart is, or home is where the heart is. Tongue tied here. So, again, we celebrate Autism Awareness Month. Until this time, guys, next week, be well, be blessed. Thank you so much. And thank you, Miss Twana, for the Chronicles of Blue. We appreciate you. God bless.